Hello and welcome to the Big Ideas Show. I'm Liu Batchelor and I'm very pleased today to be joined by Maggie Boyle from LEAF Folkestone. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today. And you run LEAF Folkestone, don't you? Can you tell us what is LEAF?
It's an online platform which allows local people to buy local food made by local producers.
Brilliant. We're going to be hearing more about that after these. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. You're watching the Big Idea Show, the show all about spotlighting and showcasing great local initiatives, projects and people. We are here at the Grand Inn Folkestone, our wonderful hosts for tonight. And our theme is Food for Thought. And joining me is Maggie Boyle, and you run LEAF Folkestone, don't you?
Yes, actually I'm only one half.
Okay.
I'm currently working with Mary Renshaw.
Okay, brilliant. We've got to make sure we get her in as well. But to give a very brief history of LEAF, because you've kind of come quite a long way, haven't you, and evolved a lot. You started off on the Harbour Arm, didn't you?
Yes, but before that,
Yep.
I used to live in the South Pennines.
Okay.
And I actually started a co-op with some friends.
Okay.
A food co-op, again, of local food.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
So this project, this is something that has been, by the sounds of it, a big thing for you. But so you started there in the co-op,
Yeah.
then you, not the actual co-op, a co-op.
A co-op.
Then onto the Harbour Arm.
Yep.
Then you were the Food Assembly. People
Yep.
may know you as that. And now you are LEAF Folkestone, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I want to hear a little bit more about kind of what LEAF is. I guess to give a summary, as far as I understand it, you're a pop-up, right, that allows local food producers to come and share their food with the local community. But before we, I guess, look more in depth about kind of what it is and why you do it, I want to hear more about your story, because we've had a little chat, haven't we? And I think your story perfectly articulates what it's all about and the values and the vision behind it. So I'm going to start there. Take us right back. Kind of why did this all start and why are you so passionate about it?
So I moved out of a big city to live in the South Pennines, and I was beginning to be interested in sustainability, as we all are, in the climate. And I began to realise that I was living around local producers who were making local food, small sheep, cattle, pig farmers, vegetables, wine, and so on, preserves, pies, and etc. But I realised I didn't shop with them.
Yeah.
And I started to ask myself why that was, because it's actually quite hard if you don't know where the food is and when it's there and who's selling it and so on. So I started to think about this and got together with some friends. And first of all, we had a directory of where the food was, and that didn't work. We started something called the Blackshore Food Network and started having events that celebrated local food. And eventually we started a little local co-op, and we had I would say about 40 micro producers who would come along on a Saturday morning from the local village that we were in just outside Hebden Bridge, and we also had the local community come out and buy their stuff, and often they were the same people.
Yeah.
And we did that every Saturday for a few hours, and that's how I got started on the journey of looking at what sustainable food is all about.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Folkestone, then I kind of looked around and thought, where's my local food?
Yeah.
And that's how the journey carried on.
Okay, brilliant. So how has it evolved since then? What's the journey since you came to Folkestone? You went, this is a problem that needs addressing.
Yeah.
What was the process?
So I met Christopher Houghton-Budd, and he introduced me to his wife Tessa.
Yeah.
And Tessa and I started to sell organic vegetables on the Harbour Arm. And when it got very, very cold, we decided to regroup and ask ourselves what were we going to do. And that's when the Food Assembly idea came up, which was an online platform. Because one of the difficult things is you have to get enough people together to make this work.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? One simple way is to allow people to shop online. And so we investigated different platforms. Food Assembly was quite big in the UK at the time, and that's how we started. And we did that for, I think, either 18 months or 2 years, and found that Food Assembly weren't making enough money out of their business in the UK. They were French, and so they pulled out. And that's why we became LEAF. We found another online platform, and they're called Neighbour Food, but they allowed us to brand it for ourselves. Because what Mary and I really wanted was to have food that wasn't just local, but it actually involved producers who were very conscious about what they were doing. And when I say conscious, people who were looking at the soil and whether they were degrading it or restoring it, people who were looking at whether or not the food was sprayed with pesticides or herbicides, and also low input, you know, whether or not you were using chemical fertilizers or maybe chicken manure. Because one of the amazing things you may not know is that we use fossil fuels to create our food. Think about that. Wow. We use more fossil fuel calories to create our food than we get calories out of our food. So if you think about what sustainability is and about how we're going to still be feeding ourselves in the future, that seems to be a rather imbalanced equation. And so we really wanted to find local producers who were very conscious of what they were doing, and they were on their own journey of working out how to produce food in the best way possible. Yeah,
because I guess there must be lots of demands on some of the producers to go down that more sustainable route, but it doesn't mean they necessarily can overnight, and they've still got to earn a living and make sure they can cover all their costs, right? It must be a big challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're going to be touching a little bit more on that because I'm quite interested in this question. You mentioned the various different elements and how we can do all of them. There's a hell of a lot for people to look at and be dealing with in this big question of sustainability and the wholeness of food. We're going to talk about that after this short break. Welcome back. You're here with me and Maggie Boyle from LEAF Folkestone. And Maggie, it's been great hearing about your story and how it's evolved, and I love that it's, you know, it was a solution that you were looking for, but as people become more aware of food, the sustainability, the whole process is something that you were then able to share with others. But I want to touch now on this challenge of, there's so much that we are becoming more and more aware of in a positive sense. We're starting to look more where our food comes from, how many miles has it travelled, is it healthy, what's the plastic, like loads of them. And then you've got all the health elements as well, like is it gluten-free, is it vegetarian, vegan, the whole lot. But that's a lot to take in, right? So I guess I wanted to have a bit more of a discussion about how we can start to take on some of those challenges. We know what the problem is, more and more people are becoming aware of the problem, and we want a solution, but it doesn't really feel like there is one. So I guess I'd want to ask, what's your opinion in how we do it? And then I'm sure hear a little bit more about how LEAF is tackling it as well. So I'll start there. Kind of, what do you think? How do we tackle this big problem of multiple things to try and address at the same time?
Yes, it can be overwhelming, can't it? Yeah. And, you know, you start somewhere. I started by saying, it's nonsensical that I live in an area that produces its own food, but I don't know where to buy it. It's a bit like people in Kent not being able to get Kent cherries in the supermarket. So yes, it starts with a question, doesn't it? And as you start that journey of trying to answer the question, you come in contact with people, you begin to find out amazing things, difficult things, things that really disturb you, and you can get quite sad about things and so on. So I think it's very much a journey. And for me, just getting interested was one thing. But as I stepped into doing things, trying to answer those questions, where's my local food? Who's a conscious producer? how do I support the local economy and not the big industrial agriculture that, you know, is polluting the planet, decreasing biodiversity, degrading soils. How can I do all of those things? And so you meet people and you ask those questions. And so, you know, we talk to our producers, and the wonderful thing about LEAF is that a lot of the time, not all the time, because they work the farms, they produce their food, but quite often they come and they're there to be talked to and asked questions of. Okay. So people shop online by Sunday night, and then they come and pick up at the courthouse on Tuesday night. So it's not a delivered veg box, but you can do it very easily and very quickly. It takes me about 5 minutes on a Sunday night to do all my shopping on my telephone. Yeah. And then people come on Tuesday and talk to the producers and talk to each other and get enthusiastic about who's doing what and how did you cook that, and oh my goodness, you've made such and such. So it is a really exciting, interesting thing to do.
So that sounds like, yeah, some people go, oh, well, I want my food delivered, but it sounds like there's so much more gained than the effort of going down. Yeah. Not only the social element, but the coming together and the learning. What are some of the things, I guess more specifically, that have come up or evolved or developed as a result of that tangible coming together of both producers and the shoppers? So there are lots of things. Obviously, one thing is, for instance, if we've got producers producing similar things, like we might have some vegetable producers, they now talk to each other, and they one won't bring certain things because they know that the other one's bringing them this week. And we're talking to our grass-fed beef producer, and you know, we're saying, well, you know, we might want lamb or pork, and what's going to happen if we do that? How's that going to affect you? Mm-hmm. So what we create is a space in which the producers can talk to themselves and be mindful of how what they're doing affects the other producers. Yeah. Because it's really important in a small local economy that people don't do things that make it impossible for another one not to be able to thrive and survive. Definitely. So that's one thing. Another thing, for instance, is, you know, the usual is the plastic issue at the moment. Yeah. So, you know, if you're a small local producer, at the moment, you probably can't get vegware or whatever other non-plastic veg plastic that you can use. So one of our producers is saying he's really trying hard, but actually he's too small to get the stuff, because you create a problem and then people give you the solution. And you know, it's about expansion and the capacity to be able to provide enough of this stuff. Lots of logistics.
Lots of logistics, and because you can talk to the producers, you can find these things out. And you know, and again, why do we have to have it in that? Why can't we have it in a paper bag? Well, maybe we're cutting trees down to put it in paper bags. So we have to think about these things quite slowly and make sure that the solutions we put in when these problems come to our consciousness are actually good long-term solutions and not just knee-jerk reactions to things. And yeah, we share recipes. People encourage each other to start producing. We've got 2 producers producing fermented food, sauerkraut and tempeh, and another producer producing coconut yogurt and coconut kefir and so on. And so, you know, we're really fortunate to have people who are really passionate about investigating how they can make a difference. And people come to the courthouse and are so excited, you know, it's fantastic, you're doing this, oh look, you're doing that. So it's really, really lovely to just be there on a Tuesday night. My mum sometimes asks me, well, are you making any money yet? And I say, well, maybe not making money yet, but I'm actually not going to the pub because this is my social life. I go and enjoy meeting people who are more and more becoming my friends because we all share part of the journey.
That's wonderful. I love the journey, and you said this experimentation of a new thing that, you know, is evolving. More people are becoming aware, like we said, but we don't all have the solutions. But I love how you're coming together to find the solutions, both for you as a consumer and for the producers as well. It's wonderful.
And the other thing is, of course, we've got this wonderful community of other enterprises, food enterprises in Folkestone.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges I'm setting myself is whether I can manage not to shop in supermarkets.
Yep.
And the
Big
only way
challenge.
I can do that is because of some of these other enterprises, and one particular one I want to mention, because I started working on organic veg with Tessa. Tessa and Beth now have the Folkestone Whole Food Shop on the Old High Street, and so the way that I now shop is almost entirely through LEAF and through Folkestone Whole Foods.
That is amazing.
The only thing that gets in the way is my cat. I still have to go to the supermarket to buy cat food.
Pesky cat. Well, if anyone out there has any solutions, cat food solutions,
that would be great.
You want to know, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant. I love it. And I love how there's so much more than just, right, I buy my food and then I go and buy it and great, it's healthy. It's no. There's learning and journey, and that you're providing solutions or helping to be a part of solutions for something bigger. Brilliant. So if people want to get involved, they want to come and shop with LEAF, how can they do that? How can they find out more about you?
Okay, so we have leaffolkestone.org is the online platform. You shop by Sunday night and come and collect on Tuesday. And we also have a Facebook page, LEAF Folkestone, and Instagram, which is, I believe, LEAF_Folkestone, because Mary looks after the Instagram for me. And I think that's probably all the platforms.
Brilliant. If not, Google.
If not, yes, exactly. LEAF Folkestone.
Brilliant. Maggie, thank you very much indeed. It's been absolutely wonderful, and good luck with the development of LEAF. And thank you out there for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you want to see more episodes around the theme of food for thought, there are plenty in this month's theme. You can check any of the social media pages. I also want to say a massive thank you to the audience, our live audience who have joined us tonight, and of course the Grand Folkestone, who are wonderful hosts for putting us up tonight. Our contributors have offered so much in helping you bring you these videos. They are Hax from Prisma Broadcast, Warren from Flourish, and Aaron from 6-2. We also have a wonderful crew. We have Maddie, we have Hannah, we have Harry, and we have Gary. So a big thank you to them. And of course, our sponsors, the Glass Whiteboard Company, for supporting us in bringing you these. And if you would like to support the Big Ideas Show to help us get wonderful ideas like this out there into the community, you can get in touch with us via the Big Ideas Show on any of the social media channels. That's all we've got time for tonight, so I'll see you next time.